The atmosphere around the Nasser Project Lake was defined by, well, a heavy quiet. Early morning mist was still clinging to the water, giving the whole area this false sense of peace.
And that stillness was just violently disrupted, not by a sound, but by a sight, a really disturbing shape floating in the water that some local fishermen reported.
So when security forces arrived, they must have known pretty quickly this wasn't just some accident.
Oh, immediately.
Yeah.
You had parts of a corpse near the surface, but most of the body was deliberately submerged. I mean, that just screams intention, right?
Someone wanted this body to disappear completely.
Exactly. And the mechanism they found, it was just indicative of cold, hard premeditation.
Something out of a crime thriller, it sounds like.
It was chillingly efficient. The victim was bound with a heavy iron chain, and that chain was anchored to this massive cement block.
Wow.
The locals have a name for it, Al-Rumana, the pomegranate. It was an attempt to literally erase him from the earth.
So the forensics team on site, they understood they were dealing with a very complex crime from the get-go. What did the medical examiner find?
Well, first, the timeline. The body had been in the water for about 5 days. But the critical detail, the absolute game changer, was the cause of death.
Wow.
He hadn't drowned. The ME confirmed strangulation. He was murdered somewhere else, and the lake was just the burial site. That confirms, without a doubt, a plan.
A plan that was rooted in just a devastating betrayal. I think to really understand the kind of hatred required for that level of cold erasure, we have to go back.
We do. Let's go back to 2013 in Alexandria, Alexandria.
And it all starts with the victim, Mohamed.
Right, Mohamed. He was 25 years old, a young guy who was, by all accounts, hardworking, stable, really focused on building a good future. And in 2013, he decides to marry his relative, a woman named Reham.
Reham was 23, described as beautiful, educated, but she stayed at home. On the surface, the union looked, perfect. The families were happy.
But there was an immediate fault line right from the very beginning. Reham agreed to the marriage not because she loved him, but because Mohamed was, quote, suitable. He offered stability.
And what the family didn't know was her history.
No idea. She was hiding numerous secret relationships from before the marriage. She walked into that union under completely false pretenses.
So they settle into this life, and Mohamed, he just feels this constant underlying unease. He's fueled by these, suspicious looks from neighbors, whispers from locals. It's that awful feeling that everyone knows a secret about your own life that you don't.
And this is where their relationship dynamic becomes so toxic. Reham had this dangerous trait. The term used to describe it as jabber-out.
Jabber-out. What does that mean exactly? Is it simple charm, or is it something much darker?
It's the latter. It implies a kind of unconventional power, of psychological cruelty almost. She had this compelling influence that let her just distract Mohamed, suppress his doubts, override his own rational suspicion.
So she could just manipulate his perception of reality.
She was so effective at it that 2 full years passed, and in that time they had 2 sons. One was 2 years old, the other just 3 months old. That family, the sanctity of it, became her ultimate cover.
And while Mohamed was often away for work, that cover, it allowed her real desires to take root. And this is where the betrayal becomes so profound, because the person she brings into the secret life is Mohamed's close friend, Shehata.
The irony is just brutal. Shehata was a familiar face in their home, a tuk-tuk driver, but mostly he was Mohamed's friend, his companion. And he apparently also had this element of jabber-out, this audacity.
So Shehata starts admiring Reham, and she, knowing this, starts returning his glances. She creates these tiny moments, for conversation, for laughter, right under her husband's nose.
It's so calculated. He's a guest in their home, and he waits for this one moment of vulnerability. Mohamed steps away, maybe just for a minute, and Shehata grabs his friend's phone, finds Reham's number, saves it, and puts the phone back.
Wow.
Without Mohamed ever noticing. It was such a high-stakes move, but it opened that direct line of deception.
What gave him the confidence to make that first call, though? I mean, he was risking everything.
He was emboldened by the gossip. The whispers in the community were already going around that Reham was unfaithful and that Mohamed was, too good, too oblivious to see it.
So the local gossip almost gave him permission in his own twisted logic.
It did. He felt there was less risk because the husband was already seen as this defeated figure.
Who he calls her, probably expecting to be rejected or exposed.
And she completely surprises him. Not only does she talk to him, she's happy he called. Right. And she never, not once, asks the obvious question, how did you get my number?
Which confirms everything right there.
Instantly. The bond was immediate. And remember, Her second son is just a baby at this point. The calls just escalate and they turn into these secret meetings that Reham herself coordinates. She would track Mohammed's work schedule and tell Shehata the exact moment he could come over.
She turned their home into the stage for his own betrayal.
Absolutely. The sanctity of the home was the first thing to go. And over time, Mohammed's unease, it grows into real suspicion. He starts to feel that Shehata's presence is just unnatural. He doesn't know the full extent, but he knows something is deeply wrong.
So he tries to get control, but his methods are, well, they're technical, not psychological. First, he breaks her phone, throws out the SIM, and gets her a new line.
Right, he's hoping to just sever the line of communication, but her first act with that new phone is to call Shehata. It just shows that, technical fixes can't defeat determined deception.
And he does it again. He changes her line a second time, and then a third time. 3 different phone numbers to try and stop this.
But he was always one step behind, because while he was trying to control those 3 lines, Reham had already gotten a 4th secret line he knew nothing about.
That's incredible. It raises the big question, though. He clearly suspected so much that he was breaking her phones. Why did he stay?
He was driven by this really deep need to preserve his home. And more than that, to protect the future of his 2 little boys. He was putting the idea of the family first, And that dedication, sadly, is what made him so vulnerable.
So eventually, his denial just breaks. He finally confirms the relationship, he restricts Reham to the house, and then he confronts Shehata. He brings a friend along to mediate and makes the ultimate threat. If you ever contact her again, I will kill you.
And Shehata denies everything, under oath to his friend's face. But that threat, it didn't end the affair. It trapped them. Shehata was married, he had 2 kids, and he knew his own wife was, as they say, 100 times better than him. His biggest fear wasn't morality, it was public scandal.
So the motivation shifts from, lust or love to just pure self-preservation.
Exactly. And that shared paralyzing fear of being exposed becomes their bond. They agree. Mohammed is an obstacle and he has to be eliminated.
And the most chilling detail that confirms the motive.
There was no plan to marry afterward, no plan to start a new life. The single goal was to kill him, to erase the threat of discovery that he represented.
And Reham becomes the chief planner. She's relaying all of Mohammed's movements to Shehata. The day of the murder arrives. Mohammed's getting ready for a work trip. She texts Shehata the exact route he's taking.
Shehata drives his tuk-tuk to the spot, and he brings his murder kit with him, the cement block, Al-Rumana, and that heavy iron chain.
He stages the whole encounter, intercepts Mohammed by chance, acts surprised to see him, he even offers him a ride, suggesting they can finally talk things out and reconcile.
And Mohammed, probably still holding on to some last shred of hope for his old friend, he gets in, they drive to a remote spot near the lake, they get out, and Shehata just instantly starts a fake argument.
The final act was just brutally efficient. Shehata hits him on the head, then strangles him to make sure he's dead. Then he uses the kit, binds the body with the chain, attaches it to the block, and throws his friend into the deepest part of the lake.
And immediately the cover-up begins. He calls Reham, tells her Mohammed has traveled.
She understands the code.
Instantly. And she tells him, stay away for a few days, to avoid any immediate suspicion.
And their story holds for 5 days. But it starts to unravel because of Mohammed's father. He was just a concerned dad. Mohammed always called when he traveled, and this time there was just silence. So the father goes to the house.
And Reham keeps up the lie. She tells him Mohammed's phone has been off for a couple of hours and she can't reach him. They go together and file a missing person report.
Then, 5 days later, the body is discovered. The police match the description to Mohammed's report. They call the father and Reham to the mortuary.
And this is where her facade, her jab route, it finally cracks.
Yeah.
The security officers watching her, they notice her demeanor. She seemed too natural. She acted as if she already knew it was him.
That lack of shock.
That complete absence of grief. It set off alarm bells everywhere. That was the critical mistake.
The investigation kicks into high gear. They confirm her history, the affair with Shehata. The net just tightens around them.
Shehata's brought in and he denies everything. So the police use a classic trick. They lie. They tell him Reham has already confessed everything and has blamed it all on him.
And he breaks.
Immediately. Consumed by panic, he confesses to the entire thing, the plan, the Al-Rumana, everything. He was so afraid that she had betrayed him.
The irony is just overwhelming. He murdered someone to avoid shame, and then he confessed because he was afraid of being betrayed by his co-conspirator.
He was genuinely shocked later to find out she hadn't said a word. She hadn't blamed him at all.
The betrayal was just absolute, and it was all fueled by a desire to maintain appearances. After the trials, both Reham and Shehata were sentenced to death.
What this deep dive really shows us is the danger of psychological deception, but also the fatal error of willful denial. When you look at all this, there are a couple of key takeaways for you to consider.
First, when suspicions of infidelity are confirmed, separation really has to be immediate. Mohammed's attempts to use technical means like breaking phones while trying to save a family that was already broken. It just exposed him to more and more danger.
Technical control is no match for determined deceit. And the second thing is about boundaries. Allowing Shahada into the sanctity of their home gave the deception a place to grow. It was Reham's manipulation, her jab route, that let her use that shared space to plot against the very man who provided it.
What's so stark here is how this is all driven by social calculation, not passion. The murder was purely to escape scandal. It was a cold, cruel, almost political act against a social threat.
Absolutely. The cruelest act imaginable, motivated by something as shallow as social appearances.
So we'll leave you with this provocative thought to mull over. How does the fear of public opinion, that anxiety of being exposed, being judged by your community, how does that become a more powerful driver for violence than morality or even love? When does saving face become a motive stronger than saving a human life? That's a question that goes deep into the human psyche.